Your project isn't worth listening to. Everyone else thinks so too, right?
Alyssa sneered at me, seeking agreement from the others. Everyone kept their heads down, not one person dared to speak up. Alyssa, making such disruptive comments during the meeting is.
Why should I, the daughter of CEO, have to work under a high school dropout? I'm superior in every way.
Alyssa, I understand you're upset, but please follow the instructions for now. When I raised my voice slightly to admonish her, Alyssa glared at me sharply.
I don't want to take orders from you. Why did Dad even hire someone as undereducated as you? If I were in charge, I'd fire you immediately. Alyssa is the only daughter of our company's CEO, Mr. Nelson.
I imagine myself in the future bowing obsequiously to Alyssa, who strides around the office with arrogant behavior.
A chill runs down my spine. I was at my limit, both mentally and physically.
A few days later, unable to face going to work, I resigned.
But little did I know, this was the beginning of my grand turnaround. My name is Kevin, and I've been appointed as the manager starting today. While I'm honored to receive such an important role, I'm also acutely aware of the heavy responsibilities it entails. I will continue to work hard for the company's growth. Thank you all for your support. I bowed my head vigorously.
Applause and congratulatory words poured in from my colleagues.
Keep up the good work. Thank you, Eric.
I'll continue to rely on your guidance. Eric, the department head who had looked after me since I joined, patted me on the shoulder, and I bowed my head again.
My name is Kevin. I'm 23 years old.
I've been working at Owen, a stationery manufacturer, for about 7 years now.
My highest level of education is middle school.
I was attending high school, but when my previously healthy father fell ill, he became so weak that daily life became a struggle. With my mother unable to support both the household and my father's care on her own, I dropped out of high school and joined this company to help with the family finances. It was unusual for someone with my background to be hired, and it seemed to be a first for the company.
But I was taken in thanks to Mr. Nelson's kindness and have been working here since.
I passed the promotion exam that Eric encouraged me to take and was able to become a manager.
I had always felt fortunate to have joined this company. Until recently. Ha! A high school dropout as a manager? That's hilarious. Having to work under an uneducated boss is the worst. Amidst the celebratory mood, one woman muttered venomously. Her name is Alyssa. She is the only daughter of our CEO, Mr. Nelson.
After graduating from college, she worked at another company but joined her father's company just last month. Mr. Nelson, her father, is a man I greatly respect, but his daughter.
I'm going to inherit this company, so you'd better respect me. My word is law.
She says such things without hesitation and is regarded as quite the troublemaker in our department.
But the fact is, as the CEO's daughter, regular employees can't easily speak out against her.
Only those in high-ranking positions have the authority to admonish her, and they are few and far between. Ever since she was assigned to this department and I honestly answered I only finished middle school when she asked about my education.
Alyssa has been mocking me relentlessly.
Alyssa, please refrain from using such language. As everyone knows, our company doesn't judge people based on their education.
Kevin's promotion is a result of his own hard work. Let's all strive to do our best. Eric admonished Alyssa while also standing up for me. Alyssa sat down with a scowl, clearly displeased with Eric's reprimand. Kevin, I know it's tough, but hang in there. I'll support you as much as I can. Eric whispered to me.
While I was happy about the promotion, the thought of dealing with Alyssa gave me a headache, to be honest. A few months had passed since my promotion to manager, but I was still struggling to manage Alyssa, who was one of my subordinates. Her work had always been inconsistent, but since I became manager, her erratic behavior had worsened. With everyone else busy with their own tasks, I ended up taking responsibility for Alyssa's work, which was becoming increasingly difficult. When I reported this to Eric, he would reprimand her, and things would improve temporarily, but then they would quickly revert back. No matter what I said, she would mock my education and ignore my instructions. I continued to drag my weary body through each day, exhausted by these constant battles.
That day, we had a project meeting.
I was participating as both the facilitator and the project proposer. Keeping Alyssa, who sat with a pout, in the corner of my eye, I proceeded with the meeting. When it was my turn, I began explaining my project. The pencil case I designed for schoolchildren uses the latest shock-absorbing material. The overall response seemed positive as I finished my explanation. Just as I was about to hand over to the next presenter, Alyssa's voice cut through the room.
It looks like something a child would design. Alyssa.
I tried to admonish her, but she cut me off.
Typical of someone with only a middle school education to come up with this.
There's no way this will sell. She laughed derisively and threw the project proposal onto the table.
Having a meeting run by someone like him is a waste of everyone's time. Don't you all agree? She sought agreement from the room, but no one responded.
No one wanted to risk defending me and facing her wrath, so there was no support for me. Alyssa interpreted the silence as agreement and continued to insult me.
See, everyone feels the same. Nobody wants to listen to someone less educated than themselves. Really, you should just quit already. The meeting eventually ended with Alyssa's tirade and criticisms. Back in the office, Alyssa ignored the tasks I assigned her. Lately, I've been experiencing daily stomachaches and headaches. At home, I lacked the energy to do anything, merely going through the motions of sleeping and waking. Even my sleep was restless, frequently interrupted. Despite pushing myself to work every day for the company's sake, the breaking point came suddenly. My body won't move. One morning, I tried to get up but couldn't move at all.
My mind was filled with the thought I have to get up, but I couldn't think clearly. I managed to think I need to go to work, but then a wave of breathlessness hit me. Tears flowed uncontrollably. I hadn't realized I had long since passed my limit. When I didn't show up after the start of work hours, Eric called, concerned, and I ended up taking the day off. As soon as taking a day off was confirmed, my symptoms eased. When I explained my condition to Eric, he insisted, "Go see a doctor immediately," his voice serious. It seemed excessive, but even I realized that morning's condition was abnormal. The next day, I went to the hospital and was diagnosed with depression. Just thinking about work the next day triggered heart palpitations and shortness of breath.
I guess this means I can't do this anymore. If thinking about work put me in such a state, I couldn't function properly. There was no option but to quit. Eric arranged for my final farewell to be during a time when Alyssa was out of the office. Just her absence made me feel a bit better. I'm sorry I couldn't be of more help.
No, Eric, you've been incredibly supportive ever since I joined.
I'm deeply grateful for everything you've done for me. Thank you so much.
Eric, looking apologetic, nodded as I expressed my gratitude. Though he seemed pained by my words, he placed a gentle hand on my shoulder and said,
"If you ever feel like working again, try visiting this place. It's a referral from Mr. Nelson. This is the last bit of help Mr. Nelson and I can offer you, and I'm sorry it isn't more, but I wish you all the best." He saw me off with a smile. Seeing his smile, a flood of emotions welled up, and tears streamed down my face. I bowed deeply one last time and left the company. More than half a year passed, and with my doctor's approval, I contacted the company Mr. Nelson had referred me to and scheduled an interview. The company's name was Sakura Stationery. Like Owen, it was a stationery manufacturer, but much smaller in scale. Seeing it in person, it looked like a small stationery shop in town. I pressed the intercom, feeling a mix of nerves. "Yes? Who is it?" The voice sounded young, almost childlike. I'm Kevin. I called the other day. I have an interview scheduled for today." "Oh, right, I remember now," the voice responded. After a brief wait, the door opened. Standing there wasn't a woman but a young girl, probably in elementary school. This way, please." Ignoring my confusion, the girl led me inside. After showing me to a seat, she placed a glass of cold tea on the table. "Thank you, very much. They should be back soon, so please wait here." She spoke without expression, then moved to a corner of the room where she sat down. I took a sip of the tea to calm my nerves and looked around the room. The office was small but tidy, with 2 desks for office work. I was in an area presumably set up for visitors. In the corner where the girl sat, I saw a school bag, study materials, and toys. She must be a child of one of the employees.
As I watched her play alone, I saw her frowning at a puzzle piece.
Is the puzzle difficult?
She seemed surprised at being spoken to but answered honestly.
Yeah, it's a bit hard. May I take a look? She nodded, so I walked over to her.
On the table was a partially completed map of Japan.
I did that when I was a kid too. That's Kagawa Prefecture, right? It's tough because the pieces are so small. Yeah. Mister, do you know where this goes?
Being called Mr. made me freeze for a moment, but I supposed I did look like an adult to a kid.
Feeling a bit shocked, I helped her find where the piece fit. Here it is. It goes here.
She placed the piece where I pointed.
I see. Kagawa Prefecture is in Shikoku, right? Are you studying a map of Japan?
No, not yet at school, but I sometimes do it here.
She continued looking for the next piece. I found myself staying, watching over her.
I answered her occasional questions and watched as she completed the puzzle.
I finished it for the first time. Well done.
I clapped for the excited girl, and she smiled shyly in return. As we exchanged short conversations and played games like cards and table tennis, we gradually warmed up to each other.
Ah. You're out, mister. That's my point. Wow. That was close. Just as we were getting excited, the door opened and a woman walked in. She was very beautiful. You two seem to be having fun. Oh, Mom. Welcome back.
The girl ran to the woman with the racket still in hand. Upon closer inspection, their faces were quite similar, making it clear they were mother and daughter.
Thank you for playing with her, the woman said, bowing her head politely.
No, thank you for letting me use your things.
Not at all. It's no problem. Are you here for the interview today by any chance?
Her words reminded me of why I was there. I quickly put on the jacket I had taken off to move more comfortably and introduced myself hastily.
I'm sorry.
I'm Kevin, who called the other day.
Thank you for taking the time to see me today. Ah, I thought so. I'm sorry I had to step out for a bit and kept you waiting. I'm Ashley, the president. This is my daughter, Natalie. Natalie. Say hello.
Urged by her mother, Natalie bowed politely.
I'm Natalie. Thank you for playing with me, mister. Natalie? Thank you too. Will you play with me again? As I pondered how to respond, Ashley gently admonished, Natalie, don't bother Kevin. Sorry, Kevin. No, it's fine. Ashley then asked Natalie to wait quietly and guided me to a sofa for visitors. Now, let's start the interview. Yes, thank you.
During the interview, I talked about my previous work experience, the jobs I had handled, and without going into too much detail, explained that I had left my previous job due to illness but was now looking for a new position as my condition had improved. I also mentioned that my former boss had referred me here. Given that it was in the same industry and the referral came from someone Ashley knew, my hiring was decided on the spot. As the conversation wrapped up, Natalie approached us. Mister, are you going to work at my mom's company? Yes, it's all set now. I'm looking forward to working with you, Natalie. Then we can play together again. Hey! Kevin is here to work. I'm sorry, Kevin. It seems Natalie has really taken a liking to you. Ashley looked a bit troubled but also amused by her daughter's enthusiasm. Their warm interaction filled my heart with a gentle warmth. No, I enjoyed playing with Natalie too. I'll be happy to play with you anytime. Yay! Natalie beamed, a stark contrast to her earlier expressionless demeanor. Ashley smiled as she watched Natalie was so kind and warm, I couldn't help but be captivated. Sakura Stationery was a tiny company, with just this main office and a small factory a bit further away handling production. This setup had remained unchanged since its founding. However, recent years had been tough on the business, and they were struggling. Sakura Stationery's main products were similar to those of larger companies, focusing on office supplies. They had once tried to branch into school supplies, but it hadn't gone well. So they returned to their original focus and were just managing to maintain their current status.
In the fiercely competitive field, without any long-lasting bestsellers, Sakura Stationery was in a very challenging position.
If that's the case, we should look for a new approach to break through.
Ashley had a stern look on her face at my words.
That's true, but after our previous failure, the staff is quite hesitant.
I can't seem to get any support. If only I had a solid idea.
I have some connections from my previous job with products aimed at children.
If you'd like, we can go and talk to them together sometime.
Really?
That would be great. Thank you so much. Ashley's face brightened at my offer.
I started to think about how I could use the knowledge, skills, and connections I gained from my previous job to benefit Sakura Stationery.
One idea from Sakura Stationery's past caught my attention.
It was a grip designed to help kids with weak hand strength hold pencils more easily. While it's a common product now, back then it didn't gain much traction and was discontinued within 6 months.
Seeing the materials on that product sparked an idea for me. My father had also struggled to hold everyday items when he was sick.
In his case, he couldn't hold a pen, making it impossible for him to work.
I thought there might be many people who face similar challenges due to illness or other reasons. Maybe I could combine my experience with Sakura Stationery's history to create something useful. Ashley, how about developing stationery for people with disabilities?
Saying that, I share the idea that came to mind. Although major companies have already developed similar products, I write down various ways to develop something even better. Actually, we have connections with a paper supplier who is very particular about quality.
And our factory manager, John,
is an ink enthusiast and does a lot of personal research.
We might come up with something good if we focus on developing notebooks. We nodded in agreement.
Thus, we began working on new product development at Sakura Stationery. Although neither of us had connections in the welfare industry, we were fortunate to have employees with family members in the field who offered their support. Starting from scratch was extremely challenging, and progress was slow, but the entire company was energized and motivated by the new endeavor.
Time flew by as everyone at Sakura Stationery was busy with the new project.
6 months had passed since I started working there. That day, Ashley was out meeting with a supplier to discuss the new product. I stayed behind, working in the office and spending time with Natalie after she returned from school. The wind was strong, and leaves were swirling outside the window.
It looks like there's a lot of leaves in front of the office.
I'll go clean them up.
Okay. Saying that, I grabbed a broom and dustpan and went outside. Wow, it's cold. The wind's gotten really chilly. The deepening autumn brought a biting chill to the air.
I quickly closed the door to keep the cold wind out and started sweeping up the leaves. As I did, I heard a familiar voice from across the street.
A rush of uneasy emotions surged through me.
Oh? You? Seeing who it was, I couldn't avoid her. I greeted her reluctantly.
Alyssa, it's been a while.
It was Alyssa, the one who had mocked me incessantly, walking with a few people who seemed to be her subordinates.
So, I wondered what happened to you after you quit our company. She glanced at Sakura Stationery and laughed. This tiny company looks like it could go under any moment. Well, I guess it's a perfect fit for someone with your level of education. She mocked both my educational background and Sakura Stationery.
Alyssa, you're as rude as ever.
Oomph. Who cares what a high school dropout thinks?
Her attitude was as unbearable as always, but she continued proudly.
Oh, by the way, I got promoted.
What took you 7 years, I accomplished in just 1. I was just visiting a client who specifically requested me.
Well, congratulations. I replied, not really caring but offering polite words nonetheless. However, I couldn't believe the next words out of Alyssa's mouth.
My idea for the super shock absorbing pencil case is going to be produced, and I was recognized for that achievement.
Wait a minute, wasn't that the idea I presented at the project meeting?
Back then, Alyssa had mocked it as cheap and childish.
But everything she was proudly explaining now matched my proposal exactly. I couldn't help but blurt out. That was my idea.
The people standing behind Alyssa, who seemed to be her subordinates, exchanged puzzled looks. It appeared they had joined her team after I had left and knew nothing of that project meeting.
What? What are you talking about? Of course, I came up with it all by myself. Alyssa snapped at my remark. Her reaction only confirmed my suspicion. I proposed that pencil case. This is my project. If you make such baseless claims, I'll sue you. Alyssa's angry voice cut me off, echoing around us. Hearing the commotion, Natalie stepped outside. What's all this noise? Why are you causing a scene in front of our company, old lady? Alyssa was around my age, but to Natalie, she must have seemed like an old lady. An old lady? Alyssa looked surprised and shocked by Natalie's words, with an expression that's hard to describe. I couldn't help but find it amusing, but I kept that thought to myself. What's with this kid? How rude. Call her parents. I need to give them a piece of my mind. Alyssa tried to storm into the company, but her subordinates held her back desperately. Which mouth is saying that? You were saying pretty rude things to Kevin too. Natalie muttered under her breath, making me nod in agreement. Even some of Alyssa's subordinates whispered, that's true. Alyssa's anger only grew more intense. Lady, if you keep causing a scene, someone will call the police. Look, people are starting to gather. Natalie pointed out, making Alyssa glance around and realize the situation. Well, let's go, everyone. She hurriedly led her subordinates away. Natalie and I apologized to the people around us, saying, sorry for the trouble. The neighbors expressed sympathy, saying things like, must have been tough dealing with someone like that, to which I responded with a wry smile. At that moment, Ashley poked her head out from the company door. Natalie, Kevin, what happened? I heard some loud voices when I came in through the back door. As I hesitated on how to explain, Natalie casually headed back inside. Just some random lady causing a fuss. Anyway, did you bring us any souvenirs? No souvenirs. I was out for work. Ah, you're so stingy. Their typical mother-daughter banter filled the air. I realized that the rough feelings stirred up by my encounter with Alyssa had completely vanished. It's thanks to Ashley and Natalie. I murmured to myself as Ashley called out from inside. Kevin. Natalie's having a snack, so let's take a break together. Hurry up, mister, or I'll eat it all. Wait. I'll be right there, save some for me. I found myself feeling at ease and comfortable spending time with Ashley and Natalie. The suffocating and painful feelings from before were completely gone. I was genuinely glad to have come to this company and met these two. Despite the unexpected encounter with Alyssa, we managed to bring the first new product from Sakura stationery to market, the Sakura notebook, designed for easy writing for everyone. Thanks to the cooperation from various people. Products that are easy for everyone to use, from children to adults, have created a buzz among those who struggle with conventional products. The response has been better than we expected. Thanks to the Sakura notebook, Sakura Stationery's business improved. And we even began discussing the development of a second line of stationery in collaboration with local welfare-related manufacturers. One day, after work, as I was getting ready to leave, Ashley approached me. Kevin, thank you for your hard work today. Thank you, Ashley. You too. Ever since you joined us, everything has been going so well. I can't thank you enough. Her sudden words made me feel a warm flush. It's nothing. I'm glad I can be of help. I haven't repaid the favor of being taken in yet, so I'll keep working hard. I appreciate your dedication, but please don't overwork yourself. I worry about your health, both Natalie and I do. Thank you. Ashley's kindness made me feel genuinely grateful. Since joining the company, my health had improved so much that even my doctor was surprised. Kevin, may I ask about your previous job? While I had mentioned my former job and the reasons for leaving during the interview, I had kept the details vague. I decided it was time to share everything with Ashley, my middle school education, how Mr. Nelson had given me a chance, and how Alyssa's cruel behavior had led to my mental and physical breakdown, causing me to resign. Kevin, you've been through so much. I'm so glad you're healthy and with us now. Ashley said, her voice filled with compassion. Her kind words made me feel emotional, and I almost started crying. At the same time, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It was a relief to have finally shared my story and to be accepted for who I was now. Thank you.
I managed to say, my voice filled with gratitude. When I looked up, Ashley was smiling gently.
Would you like to hear my story? I nodded quietly, realizing I knew little about her personal life. Ashley's story was much more challenging than I had imagined.
After graduating, Ashley married the man she had dated during college and was living a happy married life. Then, she found out she was pregnant.
That baby was Natalie. Ashley was overjoyed with her pregnancy and shared the news with her husband. However, her husband did not share her joy. Soon after, he distanced himself from her and their home. Shortly after she announced her pregnancy, her husband asked for a divorce. Despite discussions involving both families, he remained firm. And the divorce went through.
Heartbroken, Ashley moved back with her parents and gave birth to and raised Natalie. However, further hardships befell Ashley. Around the time Natalie turned 1 year old, her parents were in an accident and suddenly passed away. With an infant to care for, Ashley was devastated but decided to take over Sakura stationery, which her parents had left behind. Despite opposition from relatives, she declared she would protect what her parents had cherished and, with the support of those around her, she continued running the company as a single mother for the past 7 years. Ashley's face held its usual gentle smile as she finished her story. I thought about how I would have handled her situation. If I were in her shoes, I doubted I could have recovered.
But Ashley in front of me is smiling.
She stands on her own feet, pours her love into her daughter, Natalie, and continues to support the company alongside the people around her. I couldn't help but wish to be a support for her too.
Kevin, you've already been a great support to us,
Ashley said, almost as if reading my thoughts, which made my heart skip a beat. She smiled warmly at me. Kevin, thank you for joining our company and spending time with us.
We're truly grateful. I'm grateful too. I tried to respond, but the words didn't come out right. Being alone in the office at night, with Ashley so close, I felt my nerves about to explode. Suddenly, the back door swung open. Whoa! I screamed in surprise. Mister, you're so loud.
It's nighttime, be quiet,
Natalie said as she walked in, her voice exasperated. Natalie, you should be at home,
Ashley scolded her. Their house was right behind the company, just a 30-second walk away. Still, Ashley was naturally concerned about her child walking around alone at night.
Sorry, I came to fetch you since it was getting late, but I guess I interrupted something, Natalie said, grinning and looking back and forth between Ashley and me. Natalie, don't say such things. We were just talking.
This time, Ashley is flustered. I nod my head vigorously in agreement. I would never admit that for a fleeting moment, the thought of hugging Ashley had crossed my mind.
Watching our reactions with amusement, Natalie delivered the finishing blow. You two should just get married.
Her words made both Ashley and me turn bright red.
Natalie. Really? Kevin, I'm sorry. No, don't worry about it. I should get going anyway. Good night. Without waiting for their response, I grabbed my things and left the office.
As I hurried home, my mind was filled with fantasies of Ashley, Natalie, and me living happily together. Thanks to the success of the Solara notebook, Sakura stationery achieved its highest sales ever. Everyone in the company celebrated this great achievement together. With the improved business performance, we could allocate more budget for future development and even expand our staff.
Everyone, including myself, was enjoying fulfilling days. Then one day, I heard some commotion coming from outside. A moment later, someone burst into the office. Where's Kevin? Get him out here now.
It was Alyssa, her face twisted in anger.
I asked everyone to step back and approached her. What do you want? I asked as calmly as I could, trying not to provoke her.
You told my dad something, didn't you?
Confess now, Alyssa demanded, though I had no idea what she was talking about. It had to be you. Otherwise, why would I suddenly be suspended? Suspended? Did Mr. Nelson say that to you? Yes. He said it was because of that project. It has to be because of you. Undo it right now,
she shouted, and I struggled to think of a way to get her out of the office before she caused any harm.
Suddenly, Ashley stepped forward, placing herself between Alyssa and me. Ashley, Kevin has done nothing wrong. Stop making false accusations, Ashley said firmly, confronting Alyssa. This has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me. This is my company, and Kevin is a valued employee. You, on the other hand, are an outsider. Leave immediately. Ashley's words redirected Alyssa's fury towards her. An old lady like you as president? No wonder this company is so pathetic. Once I take over my dad's company, I'll crush this bottom-of-the-barrel business. Saying that, she laughs heartily. I couldn't believe she could say such things while under suspension. Concerned about Ashley's safety, I tried to persuade her to stay with everyone else. However, Ashley shook her head. It's okay. I think. Almost as if on cue, the front door opened again. Alyssa, what do you think you're doing? Apologize to them immediately. Dad. It was Mr. Nelson, the man who had hired me despite my lack of formal education. Ashley. I am deeply sorry for the trouble my daughter has caused. Alyssa, apologize now. Why should I apologize to this woman? Enough. Mr. Nelson's reprimand was stern, but Alyssa's face showed she had no intention of apologizing. Mr. Nelson, I think it might help if you explained the situation to your daughter. Ashley suggested, seeing the need for clarification. I, too, looked to Mr. Nelson for answers. Alyssa. I've told you many times, but Ashley here is the daughter of Mr. Owen's sister, our founder's sister. She's also one of our company's major shareholders. No way. Both Alyssa and I were taken aback by this revelation. Ashley gave me an apologetic smile. I'm sorry, Kevin. I didn't mean to keep it from you, there just wasn't a good time to bring it up. No, it's fine. I'm just surprised. Ashley explained further that her late mother was the sister of Mr. Owen, the founder of my previous company. Owen. Ashley had inherited shares from her mother when she passed away. Mr. Nelson was not a blood relative but had been chosen as the successor due to his capabilities and had taken over as CEO after Mr. Owen retired. In other words, Owen is not a company structured to be inherited by family members. That is also true. I've never heard this before. I've told you many times. You just weren't listening. So I can't inherit the company. Alyssa's face turned pale. Mr. Nelson sighed deeply, then turned to Ashley. I truly apologize. I will make sure my daughter formally apologizes as well. Mr. Nelson, I am more interested in hearing about what you discovered. How did that go? At this point, the direction of the conversation changed again. I couldn't keep up at all and could only look back and forth between Ashley and Mr. Nelson. Yes. As you mentioned, we found that the project Alyssa claimed as hers was originally Kevin's. After investigating both the company computers and Alyssa's personal computer, we found identical proposals and testimonies from the meeting members. You looked into it? I asked, surprised. After hearing from Ashley, we found undeniable evidence. During this process, we also uncovered numerous instances of Alyssa's abusive behavior and poor work attitude. It was disheartening to see my daughter's misconduct. Mr. Nelson said, glaring at Alyssa, who was trembling. Leaving his daughter to her fate, he turned back to me and bowed deeply. Kevin, I am deeply sorry for the pain my daughter's actions have caused you, both physically and mentally, and for her theft of your idea. I promise to make her atone for her actions. He then turned to his daughter. Alyssa, bow your head and apologize, he commanded. They both apologized together. Mr. Nelson, please, you don't have to bow. Honestly, there were times I couldn't forgive what happened, but since working here, I've forgotten about the past. Just ensure no one else goes through the same experience, and that's enough for me. It was not Mr. Nelson, but his daughter who quickly reacted to my words. See, he's fine with it. So can we drop this now? Be quiet. Mr. Nelson's shout echoed. I appreciate Kevin's kindness, but what happened cannot be forgiven. Your lack of remorse is clear. I've been too lenient with you. Alyssa. You're fired, effective immediately. This is a joke, right? Dad. I promise you too that she will never come near you again. I am deeply sorry.
Finally, Mr. Nelson bowed deeply once more, then left, practically dragging his daughter who was crying and fussing with her face all scrunched up. Later, I heard through the grapevine that Alyssa was working part-time at one of Owen's affiliated stores. As a part-timer, she couldn't act high and mighty and had to keep her head down. True to Mr. Nelson's word, she never appeared in front of us again, and the stormy incident came to a peaceful end,
bringing back tranquility to Sakura Stationery and our lives.
The day after Mr. Nelson's apology, he reached out to see if I would return to the company, but I chose to stay at Sakura Stationery.
I reported this to Ashley. She looked anxious and asked, "Are you sure you won't regret it? If you want to go back, I want to work here."
I interrupted Ashley, firmly stating my decision. Ashley smiled with relief at my words.
"Kevin, thank you." We gazed at each other. "When are you going to marry my mom?" Natalie had slipped into the conversation unnoticed, causing both Ashley and me to choke. "Natalie! Come on, it's obvious to everyone at the company.
Just get married already and be my dad. I don't want anyone else, but I'd be okay with you."
Mr. Marrying Ashley, with Natalie's approval. Could this once fantasy become reality?
I glanced at Ashley, who was blushing furiously and looking down.
"I'd be very happy with you, Kevin,"
she muttered shyly.
Hearing this, my face grew hot. Mom and Mr. are as red as boiled lobsters. "Natalie! Natalie!" Ashley and I shouted in unison. Then all three of us burst into laughter. That moment was filled with unmistakable happiness.
In my 20-some years of life, I had faced two major hardships. The first was the change in circumstances due to my father's illness. The second was the onset of depression caused by work stress. During those times, I felt I was standing on the edge of despair. But each time, there were people around me who reached out to help.
Mr. Nelson, Eric, Ashley, and Natalie.
Thanks to them, I was able to recover. I am deeply grateful to them, more than words can express. I wonder if someday, I too can become someone who helps others, just like they helped me. To be ready for that day, I will continue striving to become a person like them.